Alright, so I want to make a video on how to kind of help start thinking about your outline for your logo project and kind of an organized way to proceed through this. I'm going to look at my water cannon as an example, and coming up with the outline is really important because it will help you spatially do two things. One, make sure it's proportional, and two, it will also make sure you're choosing functions that fit the shape of what you're going for. Often, I remember last year and the year before, a lot of students would start with an idea in mind, but then the cubic wouldn't look exactly like they were hoping, or they should have used an exponential in a certain situation. So I hope this video gets at kind of those misunderstandings. So you have your XY axis. I think it's best to just start at the origin, or to center your logo about the origin, especially if there's symmetry. There's actually ways you can reflect those points, so it'll make it a little bit easier. So say, for example, we're going to look at my watering can, and we're going to look at the bottom of it. So I know I want my bottom of the watering can to be in the shape of quadratic. So I'm going to first choose my HK. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just going to kind of make this up. But I'm going to say my locator for this is 0, -6. Okay? It's my HK. Now I want the base of my watering can to be a quadratic that opens up, but I want it to be really wide. Okay? So because of that, I'm going to make the point it goes through just, it's going to be up 1 over 6 and up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to try to keep symmetry here. You definitely don't have to, but I am. Alright, so I know that this is another point here. This is 6. Actually, I'll do it in red also. Or this is 6, comma, -5. And -6, comma, -5. Okay. Now knowing that, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sketch in a curve, okay, that kind of models that. Okay. And you can see that it's a parabola that opens up, and I'm going to label it my HK that this is my quadratic. Alright. Now the next part of my can, I actually want it to kind of shoot up. So I'm going to plot another point. Kind of connect the dots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to make a point here for kind of the top of it, and then I'm going to make another point right on the other side. Right here. Oops. I want to go over 5. There it is. Okay. And then I'm also going to want this thing to kind of come down a little bit right here. Okay. Now with that said, I can start building a couple different functions here. So I'm outlining this. That's kind of what I'm expecting from you. And now I want this to just be a straight line right here. Okay. You see that the side of the can. I'm going to put another side of the can like this. And I'm going to plot these points also, and you notice how I'm making sure they're integers. If you choose decimals, it's going to make your life pretty hard. And it's an easy way for me to check if you understand what you're doing if you're choosing integers and not decimals. So this point here is 5, -5, and this is -5, comma 5. And you can see that these are both linear functions, linear and linear, just basic lines. Actually, I'm going to write this right on the inside. Okay. Alright, good. So I'm starting to label, I'm outlining. Now this next part, I actually want to include absolute value, so you can see that I can sketch in the absolute value right there. Here's my locator point, 0, 4, my HK again. Okay. And then here's absolute value. Okay. Make sure when you're doing your outline that you're labeling each of these so I know what they are, and you're labeling what your HKs are. Okay. On the line, it can be either point. It could be 5, -5, or 6, -5. Either one would work. Now, I'm going to end on the handle, and I'm not going to definitely do the whole logo, but let's say I wanted to build this handle, and I know I kind of want it to come off. Let's see, we're at -6, -7, -8. I'm going to put it right up here at the point -9, -5. Alright, great. Now, I do not want this to be a line. I want this to curve, but I don't want it to curve like a quadratic. I actually want to have a steeper rate of increase. So I'm going to be really careful here how I choose my line. I actually want this line to be a cubic, but only half of it. Okay. So you remember on the cubic function looks like this, right? Well, I actually want to flip this over. Instead of doing that, I want to do this, but I do not want to look at the bottom part. Okay? I just want to look at this part. Okay, now if you remember on the cubic, the locator point is the point of inflection, which is right in the middle. There's your HK. Alright? So, if I'm building just that part, my HK for this cubic is actually going to be -6, -5. I'm going to use a different color for this. I'll use green. So now I'm only looking at half the cubic, and you're not going to be able to draw it exactly like it is. Actually, that's not even that great. Here, let's see. Let me do it again. Alright, that's better. There it is. Okay, so you can see that it's just the left half of this. Okay, it's not the bottom part. And you have your HK, and now you have your point. And then I'm actually going to connect these two with a line. Okay, and that's my handle, you can see. My spout is going to come off somewhere over here, somewhere over on this side. Okay, but I'm not going to draw that. So here's the thing, when you're doing this, obviously your lines you can make pretty accurate. Your curves though, like this cubic, you're just kind of sketching general shape. Here's the difference between a good and a great logo. That the curves you are choosing, whether it's a cubic or a quadratic or an exponential, that they most accurately model the curve or the shape you're trying to make. Okay? And you might have to experiment around. In the outline, you can just start preliminary with dotting all your points, writing what type of function it is. I didn't do that. This is a cubic. Okay. And then on the first draft, if you start calculating some of this and you don't really like the look of it, you can end up modifying it. Okay. But for now, outline your points, name the function family, and try to choose functions that appropriately model your curve. All right.